Hey guys, it's your brother in Christ, Weston. Thanks for joining me today. So today's article comes out of InfoWars. Let's get into it. Okay, so I've purposely stayed away from all the Trump Zelensky debacle, things like that, Oval Office charades, and some reporters asking like where Zelensky, why don't you ever wear a suit? Which I kind of thought like I don't think I've ever seen him in a suit. Um, to Trump saying why doesn't he say thank you to Vance? And then in a vacuum, it seems like Zelensky's being picked on. I had a conversation with my wife about it last night as she was looking at it over some Candace Owens stuff, and um, and we were like, yeah, it seems like he's kind of being picked on, but there's a narrative that's being built there. We know how this works. You only show bits and pieces of certain things, and then you just like, oh, this is this person, yada yada yada. And if it's in a vacuum, yeah, it looks like they're picking on him, but there's also and excuse me, no buts, and there's a broader picture of like it seems like we're handing out money to somebody and it's almost like in a sense like they're demanding it or they are not wanting to come to the agreement of a peace deal that needs to happen, and yet I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, then you're forcing us to either try to give you, trying to force a hand to like give you more money, or start something at more, or like Ukraine's going to be wiped out or something like that, right? And it almost seems like Zelensky, in some way, form, or fashion, when I read today's article, it seems like there's a plan here, and there's a greater context to it, right? Because everything in a vacuum can be made up and to be pointed in any direction or any narrative for sure, easy. So we've been discussing like the proverbial bomb we talk around about, where it's like it's a bomb that's just it's pulsating, it's moving up and down, back and forth, up and down, like it wants to explode. There's no fuse. It's just that it's by God's grace it has not exploded. And then I read this article, just the headline, and I'm like, oh, we might just be there. And it seems like there's a division in some sense in NATO just by the discussion. And Zelensky seems to like, it almost seems like Zelensky wants the war to happen, wants everybody to be involved, which would not be good. And why would you want to do that if you want to seek peace? So let's read. It says here, Europe unveils rival Ukraine peace plan backed by boots on the ground and planes in the air. Of course, being this antagonistic to Russia at this very moment, the US is trying to forge ahead on peace, is in reality a scenario that eventually forces Trump's hand to react. This is not good. It says, update, is the UK trying to pull Trump into starting World War III during Sunday's security summit of the European leaders to find an alternate peace plan in Washington? UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced a coalition of the willing to step up efforts to support in Kiev. Starmer said he hopes this coalition will gain support and leadership from Trump White House. We are at a crossroads in history today, Starmer said after the summit of 18 leaders, which included Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Starmer unveiled a 4-point agreed to peace plan, though not agreed by the US, to keep military aid flowing into Ukraine and keep the increasing economic pressures on Russia. That any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be present at any peace talks. In the event of a peace deal, to boost Ukraine's defensive capabilities to deter any future invasion, to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and guarantee peace afterwards. But one crucial line in his remarks detailing the plan caught many people's attention: the expressed willingness to put Western/NATO boots on the ground in Ukraine. The UK are prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, Starmer said. He also announced a 1.6 billion missile deal, whatever pound, I don't know what that is, pounds missile deal for Ukraine, saying this support for Ukraine is unwavering. And it says, holy poop. The UK Prime Minister proposes a new plan for Ukraine wants Europe to start their economic spending, which is nuts because it's like, where's all the money going to, bro? Like, this is why when Trump says put America first, I'm for that. Me and my wife are actually for that. Like, yo, like, where's all these billions and billions and billions of dollars going to? And then we have so many issues over here. How do we still have issues? Where did these billions of dollars go to? Am I paying for these billions of dollars at this point? It's not because I don't want to see Ukraine fall and I want to see Russia win. But I don't know why Ukraine's not wanting to come into peace or come into some kind of situation where securing your border, your sovereignty, whatever it may be, right, in the peace deal as well, to gain that and to protect your people, as well as keep Russia out and have peace with them, have something that sets them apart instead of going to war, because wars are long term. They're not just over a day. They are long term. They've been in this for 3 years. Okay. That's how wars are fought. We have been in a proxy war. Now, you've heard me say this. We've been in a proxy war with Russia. We have been supplying for the past admin for years now, billions of dollars, bro. And I'm sure that there's some people who supplying Ukraine from the US and that money's going right back to them in some way, form, or fashion. Guaranteed there's some like loopholes happening because we're corrupt. In some sense, we are corrupt for sure. I've said that, that the US is yeah, I've just said it clearly. And they could all be in on it. I don't know. But when I hear something like this, I'm like, yo, this is World War III territory. Like this is like forcing the hand for sure. So let's read. The UK are prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. It's about to become clear to the world that NATO are the ones pushing for World War III. Did you hear that? I have said this for years, bro. What if? What if it's not Russia? Even though, yeah, Russia started it, maybe because they were just trying to work things out between them and Ukraine, and they should have never done that in the first place, and they are not coming to grips or peace or whatever, and to say work things out, that's the diminishing. I don't mean that. What I mean is that they should have never even tried to do this. But the idea here of NATO being involved in some way, and it's like, do you want to go to war? Like, because when there could be peace, when there's an opportunity to actually to be peace, because it seems like we're not pushing for a peace agreement. We're pushing just for we'll let this thing run out as long term. But I don't understand that mentality because that seems like you're running out of resources. We've talked about this. Like if the US is gone, it's because we've diminished so many resources that we don't have any available for us at this point. Or other nations. And guess what happens? Then the people who haven't been fighting wars come in with their armies and you're gone. I have said this so many times. And I'm not saying this is going to happen. What I'm saying is the idea of this thing happening or like in some way happening where you're fighting a proxy war, you're giving all this money, all this armory, all this military, all this weaponry, but what about your own? And then when it comes to your shores, you're like, oh, we're not ready now because we've given up so much. We were expecting Ukraine to win or there to be a ceasefire of some sort or a plan of peace, hopefully. And that's not. And now you have to prepare for war, and you're on the back foot. You're in a corner, and then Russia's homie comes over, aka China, two superpowers. U.S. is the first, and then we got Russia and China. I don't know which one is second or third, but then everybody else just falls to the wayside. So like NATO is the U.S. It's not everybody else. It is the U.S. Like you want the U.S. in there, um, not because you can't win it, but with the U.S. you have a far greater chance to win. Um, and this is wild. Let's keep reading. It says his rationale was that we have to learn from the mistakes of the past. We cannot accept a weak deal which Russia can breach with ease. Instead, any deal must be backed with strength. I get that. I understand that. He further, in the wake of disastrous Trump Zelensky meeting, said Europe will have to do the heavy lifting. And that's when he said it'll be backed by boots on the ground. The PM said his coalition will intensify planning now with real urgency and reiterated that UK is prepared to back with boots on the ground and planes in the air. He said, together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting, but to support peace in our continent and succeed. This effort must have strong U.S. backing. That's where, if Zelensky's not going to get it from the U.S., he's going to run to somewhere else and get the help, which it's like forces the hand. If NATO is abiding by what NATO says, if any NATO, I believe it's any NATO country comes into war, then you're fighting all NATO. Like this is like the agreement. Um, but it must have strong U.S. backing. We're working with the U.S. at this point or on this point. Speaking to journalists, and you can correct me if I'm wrong there. Speaking to journalists after the summit, the PM said he did not accept the U.S. He did not accept that the U.S. is an unreliable ally. Nobody wants to say that. That the discussions formed a plan would see the U.S. as allies. Of course, being this antagonistic to Russia, it also appears deliberate effort by Europe to keep U.S. on a hawkish path and to sabotage the U.S.-Russia talks in the process, because I believe that there's something that's being worked out there. Um, and mind you, I haven't kept up with it because I've kind of just don't want to like immediately hop on a story like that. I want to make sure I like flesh things out before talking about it. The plan is for UK to send soldiers to Ukraine, set them up to be shot by Russians in a false flag attack, and then claim Article 5 of NATO treaty requires the US to send soldiers to bail them out. Bro, I have told you. I told you, I told you, I told you that it was like there would be this thing where it's like maybe in some odd, weird sense that's like, what's going on with Russia? What are they defending? What are you trying to defend? And Russia has made claims that there's things in Ukraine, and I've read this off of Infowars and plenty of other sites, like in Ukraine that they're trying to protect. And it's like, okay, well, that it wouldn't surprise me if that's the truth, anyways. But the idea of trying this loophole to get, not even a loophole, just to get US to come in and to bail them out. And I don't know what that looks like if US doesn't do that. Like, they're a traitor. I don't know. I have no idea. But it starts to spark this idea in me of like, where's the US in the end times? And I wonder if they're not bailed out, all of NATO comes after the US for not saving them, and we're gone. Or they work with Russia, or I don't know, some weird thing. I'm just spitballing, but there's this thread of truth I've been finding out through all this, just speaking my mind, right? Throwing spaghetti on the wall and see if it sticks. Man, this is nuts. And it says, talking about boots on the ground in the name of peace is certainly anything but a recipe for peace. I agree. I don't know what she has to say here. Leaders are signing on to the escalation peace plan. Oh my gosh. European leaders hold emergency meeting with Ukrainian President Zelensky in London. Wowzers. Starmer, Zelensky, Macron, Schultz, Maloney, Tusk, Trudeau, Sanchez, Fredrickson, Storey, Stubb, Christensen, Shu, Fiala, Bolajan, Fida, and Bidel, and Costa. Meanwhile, Trump posted in a Truth Social account from Gartner analyst Michael McCoon, according to his whom Zelensky now has no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms, suggesting that Trump clearly is content with the outcome on Friday's debacle in the White House. Now Zelensky will have no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms. But here's the genius part: Trump is actually protecting Ukraine without dragging the U.S. into the war. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read all this, so it's all fresh for me, and we might just have the crazy turning point here. By negotiating a mineral deal, Trump ensures that Americans will be involved in Ukraine's mining industry. This prevents Russia from launching an invasion because attacking Ukraine would mean endangering American lives, something that would force the US to respond. So Russia doesn't want to do that. Okay, great. Trump played both sides like a master chess player. In the end, Zelensky will have no choice but to concede because without U.S. support, Ukraine cannot win a prolonged war. I agree. I just made this like you don't what you, if you don't have the U.S. and what the backing is, like we are the number one superpower for however long. I don't know. Trump played both sides. Blah blah blah. And once U.S. companies have mining operations in Ukraine, Putin will be unable to attack without triggering massive international consequences. Don't estimate DT. In the game of chess, he's 10 moves ahead of everyone. Are Europe's are Europe's virtue signaling warmongering leaders unable to grasp it completely that this is all a part of Trump's art of the deal to bring the end to the war? And bro, that right there, oh my gosh, when they say peace and safety, I just hear that ringing in my heart. Like the Holy Spirit's like, hey, peace and safety. Then sudden destruction comes upon them like labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. Huh. Yeah. Huh. Bro. I went from thinking we were like going there to maybe thinking like even that's worse. That's worse. You're talking Antichrist beast system territory. Like this is not edited or anything. I'm just reading this like I always do. I'm freehanding this, giving my thoughts play by play like I always do. So you don't see any kind of bias or anything. Like the first half, I'm like, yo, this is about to be real bad. To the second half of like, what is Trump doing? If this is what it is and this is what people are saying, bro, I don't know. I'm not gonna read the rest of it because it's really long. Um, yeah, wowzers. If the US stops giving us money, we will demand at least 250 billion from Europe. The beggar strikes again. Bro, excuse me? I don't know. I'm lost at this point. I don't know. This stuff is nuts. Anyways, guys, that's the video. If you like the video, be sure to like the video. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. If you've got, I'm I'm like trying to find my way through. I'm finding parts of it, and then it's like, oh man, and something flips the script, and then here's the turning point. There's this climax that's about to happen, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, shocker, the twist. Um, I don't know, because then it seems like demanding 250 billion. Like it's almost like Zelensky's trying to empty the wallets. Like, and why would they do it in the first place? I don't understand that either. So then they wouldn't do it, and then he would have to go back to asking Trump to do the mineral deal, which then would force peace. Bro, I don't know. I do not know. I'm I, I don't know. I need to, if you have it, if you have a thought, share it with me. I would love to hear it, because this is insane. Man, I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that's the video. I'll see you in the next one.